expectations of the impact that this technology is going to have become so massive that I think you need to see massive returns to justify this level of spend. But the reality is that to integrate something that's this new, whose capabilities aren't proven, it's going to take time. And some companies, I think, institutionally are able to make that change quickly. And some industries, I think, are going to be able to make that change and see that return. But it's not going to happen overnight. I think it's something that will take time. And whether the markets can be patient or not, I think that's a whole other question.
Okay, let's talk about the smartphone industry as well, because AI is going to be super important. It already is super important. Let's talk about where Apple stands right now in that race, and where Google has been in AI, and now that it's clearly getting in with both feet in the smartphone world. What is it going to do to global markets? And it's clearly targeting Apple. Do you think this, I don't want to say snarky, but that's not a bad word. Do you think that their take on this is going to have some kind of impact?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I don't think many people purchase their smartphones for Siri or for the AI capabilities. I think hardware is just very tough to actually win, and the smartphone market is just so competitive. Having said that, there is no native AI hardware, right? I do think at the end of the day, the phone is the native AI hardware. It's tough to predict how consumers are going to be using AI in their day-to-day life, but we can sort of see it with ChatGPT. I think the bad news is sort of that you can use ChatGPT on your iPhone. So it's unclear if this is going to really give Google an advantage for their smartphones. I think the consumer purchases smartphones for other reasons other than the agentic capabilities or these AI apps that you can access from, an Apple phone or an Apple computer, right?
Right. Let's talk more about the event. Google's biggest highlights and your takeaway from it.
I mean, listen, I think it's really impressive. The Google Pixel is a very impressive phone. I think it's surprising that they don't have a bigger market share. And for a long time, we've seen, even a lot of competitors like Samsung produce phones that are, much more capable than the iPhone. But for whatever reason, at least here in the US market, it's really hard to get consumers to switch from one hardware to another. I mean, from one phone maker to another. It seems like when you sort of pick a phone, there's a lot of brand loyalty, and it's been very hard to culturally dislodge, at least speaking for the American market, to dislodge iPhone users and have them switch to a different phone maker.
Yeah, and so many things, the phone, the laptop, iPad, I mean, all those things kind of connected, so it's tough to kind of break that whole chain, I would guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like once you're in the Apple ecosystem, it's kind of hard to break away. But, like I said, the hardware is so impressive. And for a company that's not their core business, I think just the offerings are quite fantastic. But we'll see if, they can actually have a commercial success. Really, I think that's what will count.
Okay, Sherif, let's turn to China now and its rapidly moving developments in AI as well, and talk about an NVIDIA AMD chip deal with President Trump, how you think that is going to shape China's growth. Reports that NVIDIA now working on a new, more powerful AI chip specifically for China. What's that going to do?
Yeah, I mean, the big constraint for China, right, is if it can figure out how to actually have the hardware to train new frontier models. I mean, we know just from reports that to train a frontier model requires not only the best chips, but hundreds of hours of training time on those chips. So the fact that, China no longer has those export controls over those chips means that they actually have a shot to at least catch up to some of these frontier models. And, even without these chips, you can see that a lot of Chinese companies have still been able to make very impressive, they've been able to produce very impressive frontier models that demonstrate not only a lot of agentic capability, but extreme intelligence, and they break a lot of benchmarks without those hardware controls. So I think now that they don't have the hardware limitations, I do think that we'll be able to see much more competitive models.
Yeah, remember about a year ago when it appeared, because China had its DeepSeek success, and then there was all this talk about being able to do so much with AI, so much more cheaply, so much more quickly. All that talk kind of went away, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it went away, but only because I think it was just such a shock to the system that, at least the Americans, everybody was looking at OpenAI. They were the clear industry leader. Everybody thought they were just going to run away with the race. And I think now we're looking at this world that's, plainly speaking, multipolar, right? Not only different countries having different AI superpowers, like super companies,
Right.
but even the companies within the United States, like we have, Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, and even now potentially Meta and XAI, nobody's going to run off with it.
Yeah, and getting back to that MIT report, I don't want to make too much out of that because it's not like any company is going to take the foot off the gas at this point. I mean, so much really hinges on who can move forward even incrementally right now, and regulation is going to be very important moving forward as well. What are you looking for?
I mean, this thing is, it's like the Trump administration has been very pro AI, and the one thing with the United States is like we don't know what's going to happen after the midterms. We don't know what's going to happen next presidential administration. If it continues to be stable, I think the American companies will continue to grow. They'll continue to innovate. There's no reason they wouldn't make the kind of spend they're making. The only risk would be if if a case through the courts strikes down something to do with copyright, then we might see issues with the models that exist. Frontier companies might have to change how they train their models, and that might cause issues. But I don't expect it to change. I do think that despite the amount of investment and amount of spend, this is coming, and it's going to be quite transformative. Again, it's whether the markets can be patient to see those gains realized.